Hello and welcome to Camp Xbox. In 2005, we got the Xbox 360, but that did not mean the end for the original Xbox. That console would receive its own games, but would also get cross-generation releases where the same game was split across multiple consoles. Today, I want to examine a few and compare them. This is not a definitive list, there are more, but I plan on making this a series. Also, I'm not an expert on any of these games. My opinion is based on what I could tell and how much I've played them. But every game is someone's favorite, and there's always someone who digs really deep into the nitty-gritty of these games. If there is something I've missed, please add it to the comments. I'd love to read it. I'm also willing to do videos on each game individually and make them longer, so if you're interested in that, also let me know. All footage was captured off of an original Xbox and Xbox 360, and I'd like to thank my YouTube channel members for their support. But let's go ahead and hop into this one. First up is Battlefield 2 Modern Combat. This game was released in 2005 for the Xbox and later made its way to the 360 in 2006. It was developed by DICE and published by EA. This game is an odd one because despite having Battlefield 2 in the title, it's not like the PC version, and it's also the first time the series made it to console. I never played this series until Bad Company, so I have limited experience with this game, although I do enjoy the series now. In this game, you go into an area with your troops, and you do miscellaneous tasks like wiping out the enemy or protecting an area. What spices it up though is your ability to swap with anyone. Each player has a specific class with its own unique weapons. You can mix and match and swap them at any time, making the process pretty seamless. On top of this, you have an arcade-style game design where getting multiple kills earns you points, and your goal is to achieve a certain star rating by completing small challenges. I was honestly surprised by the design, and I enjoyed what I played. I found that the 360 version looked better. On top of supporting at least 720p and widescreen, the Xbox version is only 480p without widescreen support. The 360 version is clean and looks sleek. Other than that, there was something I enjoyed more about the Xbox version. It does look worse, but it's still a great looking Xbox game. The environments all come together nicely, and it made for a solid game, especially late in the Xbox's lifespan. I also found that it ran consistently better. The 360 version has a slower chug to it at times, and the Xbox had a much more consistent frame rate. I think this made the gunplay and switching around just feel better. However, the Xbox 360 version is still fun to play. Unfortunately, multiplayer is not an option here as EA has shut down the servers for this game. The Xbox version doesn't have Insignia support quite yet, but hopefully it will someday. On the Xbox, there was additional DLC, but it was included on the disc for the 360. I think my preferred choice here would be on the Xbox, despite the 360 version being the better looking game. Next is Burnout Revenge, which was released on the Xbox in 2005 and came to the 360 in 2006. It was published by EA and developed by Criterion Games. This is a racing game in the long line of excellent racing titles of the era. This is a follow-up to the awesome Burnout 3 Takedown and goes all in on the Rex and Havoc side of the racing titles. I played a lot of the original Xbox version of this game back in the day, and comparing it to the new one is interesting. Right from the start, both are awesome racing games. They feel awesome to control as you go around wrecking cars against traffic and destroying everything. I think either way you play this, you are bound to have some fun. Yet the 360 version is the sleeker looking game. The races have a lot more destruction effects, stronger lighting, and some insane reflections on the cars. Comparing it to the Xbox version, which is fantastic on the console, the 360 version just stands out more. Yet I've read online that some people prefer the Xbox's look, citing the excessive bloom on the 360 version, so it might have its benefits both ways. The game and the way it's laid out are generally a bit different too. The locales and such are the same, but the progression in the menus is more polished on the 360. On the Xbox, you just move from level to level without a lot of flair, but on the 360, you get star ratings and nice transitions, which makes the menus feel a lot more like you are progressing, and it's just a nice addition. I think the menus on the 360 are just overall better, but once again, some people might prefer the simplicity of the original. On top of that, the 360 does have more crash levels, but the Xbox has an element where you have to do a timing minigame to get a boost, something that is removed on the 360. You also gain replays with the 360 version, though those are usually not something I care too much about in racing games. There's a lot of small stuff in both versions that make them different. I don't mind the bloom, so I'd go for the 360 version, but either way is still at its core a great time. Next is one of my favorites with Gun. This was published by Activision and developed by Neversoft. It was released in 2005 for both consoles, but it was a launch title for the Xbox 360. Gun is a Western game that is often overlooked on consoles. It feels like a nice bridge point towards Red Dead Redemption, more so than Red Dead Revolver was. It features a vast open Western world filled with side quests as well as a substantial main story. It has the sensibilities of a 6th generation Grand Theft Auto, but it also has some of the scope of a 7th generation game. I've played both versions, and much like the other games today, both are good to play. Gun is a bit more marginal when it comes to comparisons. The most significant difference is in how the game looks. The 360 version features a stronger visual appearance and improved draw distances. I will say though, I don't think this game was ever a looker on the 360, especially when compared to other releases of the time. Much like American Wasteland, which uses the same engine from Neversoft, they do feel like they have their feet planted behind in the 6th generation, meaning on the Xbox it looks clean and high definition, but in comparison on the 360, it's not amazing. However, it's still a fine looking and great playing game for the time, so I still recommend trying it out. I think if you want the best version though, the 360 is the pick. The colors are a little more muted on the original Xbox, and the characters don't look quite as good. It's a brighter world, but as far as gameplay goes, it's the same. It still does quite well on the original Xbox, and you're not missing out on anything except for graphics here. Also, you're missing out on achievements, I guess, which I will add are extremely easy. Gun is a game that's worth playing no matter where you can get it. For me, this is a game I think more people should seek out. Neversoft put out some top-notch stuff in the era. Next up is Call of Duty 3. After the Xbox got its own different spin on Call of Duty 2, Call of Duty 3 did the cross-generational release in late 2006. It was published by Activision and developed by Treyarch. Call of Duty 3 is a World War II shooter, which this series had become one of the biggest of all time, even though the following entry would change so much and move Call of Duty into the modern era. This was the last entry that truly captured the old-school war game feel, featuring interviews with veterans and documentary-style cutscenes that detailed the war. Call of Duty 3 is a fun shooter, and I'm someone who generally enjoys playing first-person shooters. It's quick action, just shooting out enemies in detailed areas from the battles of World War II. Both experiences on both consoles are similar to each other. They follow the same plot, and you visit a lot of the same areas. The most obvious thing is that the Xbox 360 version is a visual upgrade. It's a lot cleaner, smoother, and the environments offer a lot of detail. Also, the blur when you aim down your sights is fantastic. Although, I think Call of Duty 3 on its own is a great looking game on the Xbox. I feel the original version is optimized for the Xbox and has no issues with performance. The 360 version, though, is smoother in terms of frame rate, but once again, I really had no problems with frame rate in the original version. The Xbox version captures the environments well, with less detail though. The same applies to character models and animations. The 360 version is just a better feeling and looking game overall, but if you play it on the Xbox, you're not going to have a bad time. Also, the 360 version received DLC maps that the original Xbox did not get, as well as offering larger battles online with 24 players versus 16 player support. This game remains playable online on both consoles, thanks to Insignia's support on the original Xbox. This one is an obvious win for the 360 in terms of what's the better game, but I do love to see that they tried and succeeded at distilling it down to the previous generation. Next is Hitman Blood Money, developed by IO Interactive and published by Eidos. This game was released in 2006. Blood Money is part of the stellar Hitman franchise, and this installment made it a cross-generation release. I've played this one multiple times over the years, and it's one that I keep going back to and replaying all the time. Though I go back to the Xbox 360 version. I actually had never touched the Xbox version. This is another case where they take the 360 version, which is the definitive console version, version and try to work it into an Xbox game. As far as gameplay and levels go, it's the same game. Its main differences are just in look. The 360 game is an excellent looking game for 2006. The environments have a ton of scope to them, and the fidelity is top notch. It's clean to look at, and all of the character models are well handled. I think the lighting stands out the most with some great reflections, and it makes every level look dynamic. What's interesting is that Hitman on the original Xbox is similar, but has an overall lower quality feel. It feels grainy in a way, and the lighting just doesn't stand out nicely. I'm impressed that somehow they were able to distill this onto the original Xbox, but I think it makes it look a bit ugly. It reminds me of how a game looks when you stream it through like Game Pass or something like that, but your Wi-Fi is bad. It's not unplayable in any form though, it's sort of impressive in a way. The general gameplay sticks around, and these levels are some of the best in the whole franchise. It's pretty much the same game, so you can still manage to have fun here. Even this game's wild physics engine sticks around, and bodies fly everywhere when shot. I still had fun, but playing it right next to the 360 version, it's easy to tell that the 360 version is leaps and bounds the better game. The visual quality is such an upgrade that it's easy to pick that one. Back in 2006, you might not have had a 360 though, so it really was a question of just getting it for the current console you had. However, now I don't think there's any excuse not to play the 360 version. Next is Splinter Cell Double Agent. This game was released in 2006 and was published and developed by Ubisoft. Out of all the games in this video, this one is the one that I think it needs its own video because for brevity, I can't examine every single little detail here. But I did want to put it here, as these are two completely different games. Unlike some games here, where it is a graphical update, here you can play both of these and get a completely different experience. On one hand, the original Xbox version feels like the logical end to the excellent Splinter Cell games on the console, and the 360 version feels like a more 7th gen game, and it's building up to Conviction, which would come out later. The original Xbox release feels like Chaos Theory, running off the same engine, and it plays excellently. Chaos Theory is one of the best games on the Xbox, and getting even more out of it is incredible. The levels crafted here for this game are excellent, and it's a blast to play. The levels are significantly darker here, whereas the 360 version incorporates brighter levels into the mix. Elements like the trust system are a lot tougher to get right, and it feels like a much more challenging game. There's also a co-op campaign here that is absent from the 360 version. I think this is a time when the graphical upgrade is not as big of a deal. It's similar to Chaos Theory, where it just looks incredible on the original Xbox, and it's hard to compare it to the 360 style. The Xbox 360 version is much more action-oriented, feeling like a big budget action movie at times. It's more focused on big set pieces, which I think is cool. It's still a fun game, but it certainly is a deviation. The trust system is easier to manage, and the level design is larger, featuring some neat levels such as the prison break. It also looks awesome for 2006. Some of the scenes offer incredible vistas, and elements like character models are clean. This is exactly what I wanted from a next generation game at the time, although I know some fans dislike this game because it does deviate significantly from the hardcore stealth genre. I still think it's a fun entry though. This is why it's hard to say one is better than the other, because they are so different. I do think I prefer the original Xbox version because I love Chaos Theory's style, but the 360 version has its own merits. I believe this is one of those instances where you should play both. It's an interesting piece of gaming history. It's cool to see such different interpretations of the same game. It's like two great directors adapting the same book into a movie. It can be interpreted and built on in entirely different ways to get a different product. And to me, I think it's interesting to have that in gaming. Next is Tony Hawk's American Wasteland, which was released in 2005 and served as a launch title for the Xbox 360. Just like Gun, it was made by Neversoft and published by Activision. Continuing to be like Gun, American Wasteland utilizes the same engine and has a similar feel on both consoles. The biggest difference here is just the look of the game. Though Gun feels like a mix of 6th generation and 7th generation ideals, American Wasteland feels like classic Tony Hawk still, and was was the last in line before the series changed a lot. The biggest thing is that the Xbox versions of Tony Hawk generally supported 720p upon release, and they were some of the cleanest looking games on the Xbox. But for American Wasteland, it went down to 480p. It's still a good looking game, but in comparison to its other entries, it doesn't have a standout look, while on the 360, it looks awesome. It's not one of the best looking games on the 360, but it looks a lot cleaner and brighter. It's quite an upgrade where lighting and overall design stand out more, making for a better looking experience. Now, the gameplay is exactly the same. Nothing has changed. So the level layout, design, and controls all remain similar. Both use the underground style where you can hop off your board, parkour, and perform all of the additional moves added into the game. It's Tony Hawk, so it plays great, and I love that we got an experience like this with achievements on the Xbox 360. So if it's the same game but just looks better on the 360, it's obvious you should play it on there. I think the Xbox version is still a good game, but it just stands out better on the 360, which is similar to Gun, and I don't mind that. I can tell Neversoft wanted to make sure both consoles had the same core experience, and you were paying for a graphical upgrade, which I think is nice to keep things consistent. This is a solid game worth playing, regardless of where you get it. The final game I'm going to be talking about today is Need for Speed Most Wanted. It came out in 2005 and was developed and published by EA. This was a launch title for the 360, and this is one that I briefly talked about on the channel in my 360 launch titles video, though that was just the Xbox 360 version, which was the only one that I had played. It's a really fun game all around, and it's definitely an interesting cross-generational game. This game is an arcade racer all about running away from the cops while illegally racing around the streets. On both versions, it's a great playing game. All of the driving around the open world, taking on races, and moving up in the ranks is awesome. I love the FMV cutscenes and the dark, gritty visuals. It's a style that we've lost a bit over the years, and though I do love brighter, flashy games, there's something about this style that I appreciate too. Both the Xbox and 360 versions maintain that tone, along with all of the cutscenes. What's nice though is the Xbox version does support widescreen. Though the 360 game in terms of visuals is on another level compared to the Xbox, the 360 one has amazing lighting and details on the cars. It's one of the best looking games for the console at launch. The look of all the cars is excellent, and its style works well here. The Xbox version looks good too and maintains the style well, though it is in 480p and doesn't have the same striking lighting. The Xbox 360 version looks better all around, even though I found the Xbox version ran more consistently in terms of frame rate versus the 360 version, though for me, I think the great visuals on the 360 make up for it. The Xbox version does have the black version though, which has exclusive cars and other things that never made it onto the 360. So content-wise, it does have more, but I still find the benefits of the 360 version to outweigh the original Xbox one, though both are still quite similar to play. Be sure to leave a comment below with your opinions on any of this or anything that I might have missed, or what you want to see on a later iteration of this list. Be sure to like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe to keep up with more retro Xbox content, and be sure to check out my second channel, Camp Extras, for more gaming content. And I'd love to give a huge shout out to my YouTube channel members. Thank you so much for your support. You really help out the channel, and I'll see you here next time at Camp Xbox.